Welcome to my viewers. Today's story is one you won't forget. Ever had a gut feeling about someone that turned out to be dead right? What started as a casual hangout turned into one of the creepiest experiences of my life. I once met this dude named Matt when I was out with friends at a bar one summer. I was with a big group, and Matt and I hit it off at the bar, bonding over the Cubs game playing on the screen. As I chatted with him, my group slowly drifted away, so it wasn't like Matt really spoke to any of my friends. We exchanged Instagrams. He had a decent following and looked like a regular 20-something guy into travel, going out, staying active. After we swapped info, I rejoined my group. Honestly, when two guys bro out at a bar, the chances of actually hitting each other up after that are slim. You always say you will, but the next day you're sober and just don't care anymore. But the next day is Saturday. I went to a waterfront bar and restaurant with friends for my buddy Tyler's birthday. I posted a quick story on Instagram while we were singing for him at the bar. About an hour later, we were hanging around the outdoor patio when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned and surprised it was Matt. He greeted me with a big smile and said it was his favorite Saturday night spot. This time I properly introduced him to my friends, saying, "You guys remember Matt?" Even if they hadn't really spoken to him the night before, they had seen him. Matt stuck around for the night. It was cool. Everyone was drinking and vibing, including him. The next time I saw Matt, he invited me golfing on a hot day. I'm not great at golf, but I want to get better. He asked me to join him early one Sunday morning. I tried getting some friends to come along, but they were too hungover, so it was just the two of us. We played 9 holes. It took about 2 hours, and grabbed food afterwards. Then I headed home to chill before work the next day. A little later, Matt invited me on a hiking trip to Arizona. The Grand Canyon was always on my bucket list. I checked the dates with work, saw I could make it, and told him yes. I invited Tyler and a couple other friends, but it was the usual can't get off work and saving money excuses. I asked Matt if any of his friends were coming, but he said nope, just him. That seemed odd, but I didn't think too much about it. His Instagram made him look super social, so I figured it was normal. We flew out August 15th, planning to return on the 18th. Landed at night. Matt rented a car, and we stopped for food and drinks before heading to the Airbnb. It was late when we arrived. We cracked open a few beers, and Matt looked like he wanted to stay up, but I was exhausted. That's when I realized there was only one bed. I hadn't asked. He pointed to the couch and said, "It's a pull-out. Don't worry, I'm not charging you for the Airbnb. Honestly, free lodging." Fine by me. I set up the couch bed, which was more comfortable than expected, and sometime that night, I woke up and saw Matt walking through the living room to the kitchen. I'm a light sleeper. Any sound wakes me. I turned over and fell back asleep. In the morning, he woke me up early. The weather was perfect. We hit the Grand Canyon, hiking Bright Angel Trail. I didn't realize how out of shape I was until that day. Matt was cruising along, laughing while I was dying. We took tons of breaks for pictures. It was stunning. After 2 or 3 hours of hiking, we were starved. We hit a deli on the way back, then drove to Phoenix and took a nap before heading out again. That night, like the last, Matt dragged us to a few bars. The guy clearly liked his booze. We got super drunk though. Somehow I got drunker, despite him matching my drink. We left the car parked and Ubered back to the Airbnb. That night is hazy. I remember him blasting music and me plugging in my phone next to the couch. I guess I passed out pretty quickly. Sometime later, I woke up parched and needing to pee. As I headed to the bathroom, I heard a creak like pressure on the floorboards. I glanced around but saw nothing. In the bathroom, midstream, I heard a door click shut. Had to be Matt's door. I tried it. It was locked. I knocked. Nothing. I gave up and went back to sleep. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache. First thing I noticed, my phone. I'd left it plugged in by the couch, but now it was sitting on the table, unplugged. That weirded me out. but I chalked it up to drunken. That day, we skipped hiking and just drove around town, checking out the scenery and botanical gardens. I didn't want to drink, but Matt talked me into it again, and just like before, we got hammered. We got back to the Airbnb. Matt insisted I take the bed, said it was only fair. I didn't argue. I moved my stuff to his room, said goodnight, and closed the door behind me. I didn't lock it, though the knob had one of those easy to unlock types. I wish I could say this was where the story ends. I woke up again maybe an hour or so later, not sure what triggered it. My phone was missing. I had it charging next to the bed, and even remember setting it down beside me. Now the cord dangled empty. I looked around the bed and found Matt, sprawled on the far side of the floor, face down. I screamed. He woke up confused, acted like he had blacked out, forgot I was in the bed, and crashed on the floor. But that didn't make sense. He would have had to walk around the bed, not just stumble in. I asked if he took my phone. He played dumb, suggested I check under the bed. Then instantly he found it and handed it to me. Something felt off, like I was looking at a different person. Twice now my phone had moved overnight. I told him I'd sleep on the couch, but he insisted he would. I let him go, and this time locked the door. If it wasn't for the phone, maybe I'd think it was just drunk antics. But I knew he took it. I could feel it. Somehow I fell back asleep, but the nightmare wasn't over. I woke up again, and this time I immediately saw it. Matt, standing at the foot of the bed, just a silhouette. He sat down and started rubbing my foot. I screamed, told him to get out. He didn't move, so I shoved him out of the room and started packing. He said nothing, just watched from the couch, like some silent NPC. It was eerie. I ordered an Uber and got the hell out of there. At the airport, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. I paid $35 to switch seats on the flight, just so I wouldn't have to sit next to him. I avoided eye contact the entire time. I didn't even tell my friends until later. I needed time to process. When I did, a couple of them said, "Told you he was weird," and reminded me that we only ever saw him alone. It hit me. Maybe he saw my Instagram story the night before and showed up at the bar deliberately. That's stalker behavior. Before blocking him, I looked at one of his old Instagram posts, where he was with friends. No one was tagged, but I found a commenter who looked like he was in the photo. I DM'd him and asked if he was still friends with Matt. The guy replied in 10 minutes, "Nah, guy's a freak. Run away." He told me he and other friends had cut Matt off long ago. The guy had untagged himself from the post, but said Matt refused to take it down. When I told him what happened, he wasn't even surprised. His exact words were, "Guy should be in jail." It's why I thought Matt was just another bro looking for a good time, but he turned out to be something much darker, and I still wonder, what the hell was he trying to access on my phone? Thanks for watching. If this creeped you out even a little, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories like this, and don't forget to leave a comment. Stay safe out there. It was last summer, around the middle of July. I had just come back home from college for a few weeks and was trying to make the most of the break before the next semester rolled in. My name's Kyle, and I'm from Maryland. I'd been texting with my two closest friends, Jason and Marcus, about doing something together, just us three, like the old days in high school. Since we go to different colleges now, it's not often we get this kind of chance. We ended up planning a weekend trip to Ocean City. Jason's family has a small beach house there, barely used, and he got the okay for us to crash there a few days. It wasn't fancy, just a 2-bedroom spot, a couple of blocks from the beach, but it was all we needed, a place to chill, have some fun, and reconnect. We hit the road on a Friday afternoon. The heat was brutal, high 80s with that thick, sticky humidity. The second we reached town, the air smelled like sunscreen and ocean breeze. We spent that day exploring the boardwalk, playing in arcades, and watching all the tourists. The beach was packed. Kids with beach balls, parents setting up umbrellas and coolers, and lifeguards yelling at folks who wandered into off-limits areas. Everything felt normal, just a classic summer day. That night, back at the house, we grilled up some burgers, had a few beers, and started messing around with drinking games. By the time midnight rolled around, we were all tipsy and looking for something else to do. Marcus, I think, was the one who suggested heading back to the beach. There's something about the ocean at night that's just magnetic. The crowds disappear, the breeze cools down, and everything feels calm and still. We didn't bring much, just some hoodies, our phones, and a flashlight Jason grabbed from the kitchen. We weren't planning to swim, just hang out, and maybe stroll the shore. We went down a side street to the boardwalk, then took the steps down to the beach. As expected, it was deserted. The waves were calm, and only a few boardwalk lights, and a faint moon lit the area. You could barely tell where the water met the sand. We walked by the surf, sometimes letting the cold water lap at our feet. We laughed, talked about random stuff, just enjoying the moment. After a while, we stopped near one of those lifeguard towers, the wooden ones they take down overnight, and lay in the sand, staring up at the stars. That's when Jason suddenly sat up and asked, "Is that someone walking over there?" We all sat up and looked where he was pointing. At first it just looked like a shadow near the shore, but then I saw it. A figure, just a dark shape slowly moving along the edge, where the waves touched the sand, maybe 50 or 60 yards out. At first we figured it was just someone else out late, maybe going for a walk like us, but the way they moved was off, not relaxed or casual. It was stiff, slow, almost robotic. Their arms didn't move normally, and their posture looked wrong. Their head was tilted, not fully down, but weirdly angled, like they were watching the sand. We all went quiet, just watching them. I whispered, "What the hell are they doing?" Marcus said maybe they were searching for something. Jason joked it was some drunk tourist, looking for lost keys. We laughed it off for a minute, and went back to chatting, but I kept checking. Then I noticed they weren't walking anymore. They'd stopped, just standing there, and they'd gotten closer, now maybe 30 yards away. The air suddenly felt tense. We didn't want to shine the light, or be obvious, but we couldn't ignore it anymore. Something wasn't right. Marcus broke the silence. "They've been standing there for like 5 minutes. Who does that?" Jason followed up with something that chilled me. "He's not just standing, he's looking at you, Kyle." I nervously laughed, saying, "Nah, he's looking at the ground." But Jason insisted, "No, look at his head. It's tilted at you." Then Jason pointed the flashlight right at him. I honestly didn't want him to, but he clicked it on and aimed it. The beam hit the figure for just a moment, before the battery started to die and it flickered out. But that moment was enough. I saw him. His skin was pale, almost gray. He was shirtless, wearing wet jeans that clung to him, like he'd just come out of the ocean. His arms hung straight down, completely still. His head was tilted in that same strange way. Not broken, but not normal either. And his eyes, wide open, bulging. The second the light hit him, he moved fast. No warning. He went from totally still to full sprint, charging straight at us. It was like he launched forward, like something out of a nightmare. We all screamed and took off running. We didn't even look back, just pure panic. I could hear Marcus shouting, "Go," as we sprinted through the sand. My legs were burning. We didn't stop until we were back at the boardwalk stairs. Only when we hit the street did we dare turn around. But he wasn't there. The beach was empty. No footprints behind us, just the sound of the waves. We stood there, frozen, confused, trying to process what had just happened. Back at the house, we locked every door and window, closed the blinds, and stayed up the rest of the night. None of us could sleep. I kept expecting to hear a knock at the window, or see that pale face staring in, but nothing ever came. The next day, we tried laughing it off, said maybe it was just some crazy guy messing with us, but none of us really believed it. The way he moved, the way he just appeared, the fact there were no footprints, It didn't add up. We stayed one more night, but we didn't leave the house. First thing the next morning, we packed up and left. Over the following weeks, we tried to forget it. But then one night, Jason texted me. He said he'd been having these recurring dreams, always the same. He'd wake up and see the guy standing in the corner of his room, soaked and staring at him. No movement, no sound, just watching. I told him that was creepy, but I didn't admit I was having the exact same dream. Every detail matched the posture, the silence, the wet clothes, the stare. Sometimes I even wake up thinking I hear wet footsteps in the hallway, but when I check, no one's there. Then just last week, nearly a year later, I was scrolling through a local Ocean City Facebook group. Someone had posted a photo they'd taken on the beach the night before. It was dark and grainy, but their caption asked, "Does anyone know who this creepy guy is?" I saw by the water at one avenue. I clicked it, and I recognized him instantly. Same look, same posture, just standing by the surf, staring down at the water. The comments made it worse. Dozens of people had seen him too. Some said he'd been standing there for hours. One person claimed they watched him walk into the ocean and vanish. Another said they found wet footprints on their porch, 2 streets back from the beach. No trail in or out. I still don't know what we saw that night, but one thing's for sure, I'm never going back to that beach after dark. I grew up in Massachusetts, and every summer since I could remember, I spent 3 months in a classic coastal New England town, the kind of place you know if you've ever been up there. I had a big group of friends who all did the same thing, and we'd get into all sorts of shenanigans every day after finishing our summer jobs. I was 19 when this happened. Like most of my friends, I had just finished a shift at my dock boy job, and like usual, I texted the group to see what the plan was. I picked up my friend, let's call him Emerson, from his job because he had the fake ID, and we went to grab some alcohol. After that, we headed back to our small town and decided to hop on my family's boat, which I was allowed to take out on my own. We figured we'd cruise a little and have some drinks while waiting for the others to finish up. We made our way around the peninsula to a spot where people usually anchor to hang out. A couple boats were already anchored there. It was around 7 p.m., but not unusual for that time. We picked a spot between the 2 boats, dropped anchor, turned on some music, and relaxed. Things were chill as we listened to music coming from the boat on our left. Eventually the boat on our right pulled away, and then the other one shut off its music too. We thought they were about to leave as well. So in our buzzed state, Emerson and I started yelling and joking around, telling them to turn the music back on. Just stupid stuff, but no music came back on. We were sitting on the bow when Emerson suddenly nudged me and said, "Dude, look." I turned to see 3 people standing at the edge of the now silent boat, just staring at us. At first, I laughed it off. I was drunk. I turned away, but Emerson kept staring, clearly freaked out. I brushed it off, thinking they were just curious. I usually don't pick up on danger right away. I tend to stay optimistic, but Emerson didn't like it. It was getting dark by then, and all we could see were their silhouettes lit by their boat's light. I tried to talk Emerson down, but when I turned back around, they hadn't moved, still staring. I grabbed the megaphone near the steering wheel and joked into it, 20 to watch, fellas. Emerson wasn't amused. He looked even more on edge. As I put the megaphone away, one of them laughed, but it was wrong. Deep, raspy and slow. That's when I started feeling uneasy. Emerson stood up and said, "Let's get the hell out of here, bro. This ain't right." I still thought it was nothing, but right after that, we heard 2 splashes from their boat and saw only one silhouette left. Emerson immediately rushed to pull up the anchor while I sat laughing, still drinking, still not understanding the situation. He yelled at me to start the engine while I laughed, like an idiot, totally unaware that someone was swimming toward our boat. Emerson stopped pulling the anchor and stared at me, frozen. I stopped laughing too. We couldn't see into the water. It was pitch black out there. I called out, "Hello," but got no reply. Even the water had gone silent. Then Emerson shouted, "Oh," just as something splashed behind me. I turned and saw someone trying to climb onto the boat. Panic hit me. I turned the key and saw another hand grip the side near Emerson, who was ready to swing the anchor like a weapon. I slammed the throttle and gunned it forward, right into a sandbar. I shoved it in reverse and backed out of the cove fast, heading for open water. We didn't say a word until we were far enough out, and then Emerson lit into me with "I told you so and you're a dumbass." I didn't argue, I agreed. I suggested heading back, and he nodded. But instead of going straight to the docks, for some reason we decided to clean up the stuff that got knocked over during our panic. That's when I noticed the lights of a boat coming from the direction we had just escaped, and it was moving fast. I yelled, "No," and jumped to the wheel, going full throttle. But our boat's old. It's not built for speed, and they were gaining. Emerson was panicking, saying, "Who are these guys? What do they want?" I told him to stay calm as I headed straight for the dock. After 5 tense minutes, we saw them, but so did the other boat. It was close enough that we could see the bow rising with every wave. I didn't know what to do. I cut hard left, staying close to shore without beaching, and somehow the other boat turned off in another direction. Huge relief, but I didn't stop. I went full speed to the dock. Once we tied off, we checked the boat. No damage, thank God. We met up with our friends and told them everything. Theories flew. Maybe they were trying to rob us, or steal the boat, or maybe just mess with people for fun. We didn't recognize the boat. They weren't from around here. Honestly, I don't like thinking about what would have happened if Emerson hadn't been there. I'll always be grateful he was. His gut feeling probably saved us from something way worse. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and drop a comment. Let me know what you think those people wanted.